أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين محمد مصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه أجمعين فقال تعالى في القرآن الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الدين عند الله الإسلام. ومن يبتغي غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There is going to be a flyer being distributed on my topic. I hope the people are here to distribute the flyer right now, which is essentially the outline of my talk. The way I understood until I came here that my talk was the theme of this conference. And the way it has been rephrased right now is the progressing Islam, the mission is yours, which fits right in. The theme of the conference is unity, in the impact of Islam and Muslims in America, unity, growth, vision, and role for the future. And that is fits right in for the role of the fold for the future is mission is yours. I will speak briefly on each part. Number one, unity. A lot of Muslims talk about unity and they complain about disunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will read translations only because of the shortage of time. In Surah Rum, chapter 30, verse number 32, in translation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, of those who split up their deen and became sects or group, Hizb. Each sect is happy in its own tenets. What essentially says that people themselves divide, Allah does not divide them. It's our own doing that we are divided into many different sects. But can we unite ourselves by making a campaign for unity, making unity conferences, unity organizations, unity seminars? When I look in the Quran, the guidance what I receive is no. And again, read some ayahs in translation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who, I put in brackets, claim to, believe, observe your duty to Allah with deserving observance, and die not except in the condition of Islam, and hold fast, all of you together, to the cable of Allah, wa'tasimu bihablillah, that is Quran and Sunnah, and do not divide. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this part of these two verses I have quoted here, is that the unity is in taqwa, in observance of our duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing Islam and living by Islam. When we do not live by Islam, then naturally we get divided. We are divided, we make sects. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I remember Allah swore to you how you were enemies and He made friendship between your hearts, so that you became as brothers by His grace. So in this, Allah saying that when you are divided, it's Allah who unites. So unity is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not by our own actions. And how you are upon the brink of an abyss of fire, and He did save you from it. Thus Allah makes clear His revelations to you, that maybe you will receive guidance. Chapter Al-Imran, chapter 3, verses 102, 103. And this message that Allah unites comes much more clear in Surah Al-Anfal, Surah number 8 and verse number 63. In translation again, and he has joined their hearts. If you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had spent all that is in the earth, you could not have joined their hearts, but Allah has joined their hearts. Lo, He is mighty wise. And I'll leave this topic at this point, except one more mention that unity comes from living by Islamic tenets, as revealed in the Quran and explained by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Hadith, or sometimes we call Sunnah. Again, I quote from Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 208. O you who claim to believe, enter into Islam, that is submission or peace, completely, and follow not the ways of the shaitan. Surely he is your clear or obvious enemy. Now, about the growth of Muslims in America. I came to this country in 1962. I landed in New York, and I took Greyhound bus, came straight to Iowa City. And I lived in Iowa City for 5 years. And I took my master's degree from here. And I went to Chicago, and I did a PhD over there. And my wife is an Iowan from Sheldon, Iowa. And she is a very learned Muslimah. She's a writer, she's a speaker, and I have 4 children. My first child was born in Iowa City at the University of Iowa Hospitals. Other 3 were born in Chicago. And when I was here, between 62 to 67, the population of Muslims in Iowa City never went higher than 20. That includes children, women, and men, if you can exaggerate, 20. We could count men about 10 or 12 at any given time, and for Friday prayer was not possible because always somebody has classes and hardly 2 or 3 people can get together, which is not large enough crowd to have a Friday prayer. And we used to pray on the International Center, which was one of the streets up here, I think Clinton Street or somewhere. But now, alhamdulillah, you can see the growth. There's a large Muslim community in Iowa City, which goes to a few hundred, I believe. And there's a masjid, an Islamic center, that shows the growth. When I went to Chicago, the first Eid prayer we used to hold on a university campus in a hall, and maximum number I saw was 400 or 500. And now, the year 2001, we hold 8 prayers at about 15, 16 different places. And the largest crowds are anywhere from 20,000, 10,000, 5,000, and the smallest Eid prayer is held about 2,000 or 3,000 people. And Chicago has a population of about 350,000. California has about 1 million. East Coast, New York, New Jersey area has more than 1 million. And you can see that we are about 6 million or more living in the United States alone. When I came 60 to 67, if I can exaggerate the estimate, it was about 250,000 Muslims living here. And if you look at the contribution of the Muslims, we have made huge contribution over here. For example, 2 tallest buildings in Chicago, John Hancock Center and Sears Tower, were designed by a Muslim architect, Dr. Fazlur Rahman, He died around 1985 in Jeddah. And he was a professor at IIT, this Illinois Institute of Technology, and he designed many buildings. And we have many architects who are designing mosques, and mosques are being built all across the United States with unique Islamic structure, Islamic architecture. We have Muslim engineers working in Detroit with the auto industry and redesigning engines and the systems in the car and contributing in that industry very quietly. And then we have doctors, medical doctors. Hardly you'll find any hospital in the United States which does not have Muslim doctors from every specialty, from a family physician to neurosurgeons. I have known personally many doctors in many, many specialties. All over the United States, they are scattered, they are serving the country. Now, in the 1960s, the largest Muslim organization established was 63, MSA of US and Canada, and the largest Muslim group, so-called Muslim group, was Nation of Islam, led by Elijah Muhammad. I call this pseudo-Islamic cult because the basic tenets were and remain non-Islamic. But the first major Islamic organization was MSA of US and Canada, which gave rise to many other professional organizations like AMSS and others. And in 1981, it became ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, and that gave rise to many other organizations, which I call ABC soup of Islamic organizations. And you can read the bottom of my article here: ISNA, ICNA, IANA, MINA, MAYA, AMC, AMA, AMP, CC, UMA, MPAC, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of them. Now, the present situation is we find ourselves in the middle of a Cold War. It's none of our doing, but it's imposed upon us by anti-Islam forces. This war has been there in the emotions of the West since 1,000 years' time of crusades. But since 1993, under the leadership of Gore-Clinton government, or Clinton-Gore government, it got well coordinated, well financed, and well established. And it's progressing very well because before 93, Muslims were not identified as terrorists. Some people thought among them there are terrorists. But the image was fixated by the efforts of opposing forces, adversarial forces to Islam and Muslims, that whenever common people in America think of Islam and Muslims, the bulb goes in their head: terrorism, 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 they are terrorists, they are evil. It is a very well coordinated effort. And the people who are behind, I put them into 5 different groups who have specialized areas of work, and they work together. This topic alone has my 90-minute talk, which once I have given here in Iowa City about a year ago. And most of you probably did not attend the talk, so I'm not going to go into detail except just a few mention. I put one group I call secular fundamentalists. These secular fundamentalists are so-called intellectuals, and they oppose Islam because Islam is not going to give in to their desires, their wishes. The second group I call the Zionist International. It's a very strong lobby worldwide, working very strong, and I will not go into detail why they are doing it, what is working. The third one is Christian fundamentalists. They have got their own reasons. They bring out a lot of brochures, booklets, books on talk shows, radio and TV, and many different ways. And then we know about Christian Orthodox and Socialist Slavs, which is the Russians and the Yugoslavians, the Serbs, who have been working as hard as they can to kill Muslims, destroy them completely. And then they are joined, all these groups are joined by Hindu fundamentalists. And I don't need to go into explanation. All of you know about it, what's going on in Kashmir, what's going on in India. And many of the Hindu fundamentalists have gone into the American media. I have tried to go to many American newspapers. You will find in the core editorial group somewhere, there's Indians sitting over there, and there's Zionists sitting over there. They are working together to tilt the views and news and views against Islam and Muslims. Now, we need to have our own vision. A nation without vision is a dead nation. A vision means think way beyond our lifetimes. Think about your children and grandchildren and grand-grandchildren. What kind of society you want to see they live in? Because we know we are living in a society which you don't like. The image created for Islam and Muslims, you don't like it. You want to be treated as equal citizens with all the rights and not attacked, not stereotyped, not blamed for things which you have not done. We want to live like citizens like this. And we want to be able to have our own Sharia law, for example, in this country. If you want somebody dies without a will, his property, her property will not be divided according to Islamic laws, but American laws. A major portion the government will take away as a taxes. Remaining will go to the account of will of somebody. If there is no will, then there will be a lawsuit, and most of it, the government takes it or lawyer take it. The people who inherit, supposed to inherit, they don't take anything. So we like to have Islamic laws, at least for our own society, to live under our own, govern our own laws, our own codes, our own way of life. Because wherever in the past Islam was established, Islam gave minorities their own courts, their own affairs, their own way of living, maintain their temples or churches, synagogues. I'm recently reading a book, very voluminous book by called the History of the Jews, written by Solomon Grazel. And he talks about how Jews were treated under Roman rule, Zoroastrian rule, Zionist rules, and how they were treated under different rules, and how Muslims changed the whole thing, and how Muslims brought back, helped catalyze the Jewish unity and Jewish learning centers, Jewish colleges and schools, and what you call their own head of the Jewish community, and their own courts, their own judges. And when in Muslim rule in India, Hindus have their own courts, and this opposition, false opposition to Islam, means imposing the Islamic Sharia on other people, is totally false. So since we have treated for 14th century, 13th centuries, minorities that way, we as a minority are supposed to have our own rule. You want to get that, so we have to have vision. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask us, and this ayah from the chapter 7, Al-Araf, number 6, Allah says, surely we shall question those to whom our message has been sent, and surely we shall question the messengers. That means our messenger, Prophet ﷺ, conveyed the message to us. Now we have a duty to convey this message to the mankind. We're not to convert people, but to convey the message to mankind. It's very important, because the opposition to Islam is rooted in ignorance of Islam and Muslims. And who are going to educate people? Are Jews going to educate people about Islam? Christian going to educate people about Islam? Is government going to educate people about Islam? Is media going to educate people about Islam? The answer is no. Whose duty it is? So we have a duty to have a proper vision, for a long-term vision. We should not be happy with 2% population, because 2% population cannot have any major role in the country. So we have to expand our population base. And Islam is the truth. When people know about Islam, I can assure you, many will accept Islam. My observation is, I have talked to thousands of people. Through our brochures, we have reached about 20 million people from our institute in Chicago. And with our effort, just by reaching out to the people, my estimated from our work, about 40,000 people have come into Islam in this country. And if we just let people know what Islam is, they will come into Islam. So we should have a vision, how to reach out to people, let them know. My observation is, if you reach people one-to-one basis, one-to-small group basis, 80% people will remove their bias, their prejudices, 80% people. Out of 80% people, 20% will become sympathetic to Islam, and they will help you to remove the bad image. They will sign a petition to the government, the media, wherever. They will help you. They will say, what can I do for you to help you? And out of that 100 people we reach, at least one, maybe up to 5 will accept Islam. Islam appeals to a lot of people, provided they know what Islam is. So my dear brothers and sisters, we should have a vision. So I propose to you how to reach out, to see if you continue working hard, reaching out, just reaching out, in about 60, 70 years, we can have this country a major Muslim majority country. It is possible. I have been doing all kind of analysis for a long time, and my own 15 years of experience in Dawah tells me it is possible, it is feasible, it can be done, and it should be done. And we can influence media, we can influence government, so that at least Muslim community can live under Islamic laws for themselves. We don't want to impose our laws on anybody. People can live under any laws they want to, but we should live according to our inheritance laws, our own marriage laws, our own divorce laws, and our own how to resolve our own disputes. So this should be our goal, to live like this. And also we have a duty to change the environment in America. We are citizens of this country, and we should have love for this country. A lot of times we have this mentality in the back of our mind, who came as an immigrant, I'm going to go back to my country, it's not my country. Forget about it. In about the last 38 years I have been living here, I have not found people who have gone back and lived successfully. I have seen rarely people going back and living there for a year or two and coming right back over here because they found they cannot live over there anymore, for various reasons. So we have to build this country. And not only we have to change ourselves from a token or cultural Muslims to real, true Muslims in the image of Quran and Sunnah. And that requires our reattachment to Quran and Sunnah. Today, our Islam is hearsay Islam. We hear from some people, imams, or whoever the leaders are, and we believe and practice it. This is a hearsay Islam. This is cultural Islam. And we should go back to Islam of the Sahaba, as left behind the Prophet Muhammad. That Islam is found not in the practices in our countries, in the Quran and Hadith. We should go back to it. And we should convey the same Islam to the people overall. And we are social doctors. Prophet ﷺ took the society in Makkah, Quraysh, a very bad society. When I compare to society, drunkenness, sexual anarchy, society based on interest, and all kind of crimes, murder, looting. When I compare to American society, I find American society is the same as the Quraysh were. Exactly the same. You read the explanation of the Quraysh as they were at the time of Prophet Muhammad and read and see the society in America today is the same exactly. If Prophet Muhammad, one man, reformed the society and brought them to become a world power, my dear brothers and sisters, we have a duty to make a contribution to society, to remove drunkenness, remove drug addiction, to remove this divorce rate, sexual anarchy, and all these things. We have the medicine to change it. Last week, maybe a week before, ABC Nightline has 5 evenings of drug problem in this country. And all the emphasis is on drug supply, to stop drug supply. And their conclusion was, it's not drug supply, it's drug demand. We have to stop the demand of drugs. Islam can do that. The Christianity, secular system do not have a solution for that. And we have a solution for that. We can stop the demand for drug. And if there's no demand, you can have tons of supply, it will not sell. So we can make contribution and we cannot run away from it. It's like a doctor. A doctor, his place is in the hospital. His place is with the sick people. So our place is in the society with the sick people. To treat them, we are their doctors. And then we also have a duty to help a Muslim world. The American policies are very anti-Islam, anti-Muslim countries. There are a lot of American hands destroy our society completely, destroy Islam wherever Islam rises. And by doing the work here, we can change the policy. We can hold the hands of CIA and FBI and the State Department that don't do anything against Muslim societies. We can stop that. We have a responsibility to start, we can do that. And we need to make a national start. I propose we make a one family a month program. We will have a brochure outside, a brochure on the vision. We should distribute it. If not, we can pick up on the outside. I'm going to set up a booth outside. And we have a lot of brochures in Chicago to help you reaching out to people. Reach out to one family a month. Start with ourselves, become better Muslims. And on one side, go to a Muslim family a month, tell them to become better Muslim and study Quran and Sunnah, live by that. Other side, we should go to non-Muslim family a month and tell them what Islam is. So my proposal is invite one American family a month to your house. One American family a month to your house. And have an open house. Don't try to impose Islam upon them, but tell them we are Muslims. And have decoration in the house with Kaaba, Masjid Nabawi, and some Quranic calligraphy. Let them ask questions, what is this? And that gives you a chance to explain our tenets, our life, our things. Give them a nice dinner or tea or coffee or cookies, and just let them know we are Muslims. That's all we need to do. Because a lot of people have the apprehension that every Muslim house is a bomb-making factory. Let them come and see. Go through the bathroom, the kitchen, the living room, the closets, and let them see it. There are no bombs. We are like any other Americans. And we are same, we want the same for our children, what everybody else wants. Let them see it. Seeing is believing. And my dear brothers, if you bring one family a month, like 3 members or 3 or 4 members of the family, husband, wife, couple of children, don't be ambitious, bring too many people, because you want to talk to one family. If you bring 3, 4 families, they talk to each other, you don't get a chance to talk to them. So bring one family to your house, talk to them, yeah. And this way you can invite 12 families in a year, about 40 people approximately. In 10 years, you can invite 400 people. And look, out of 400 people, if only one person accepts Islam, you got 4 people into Islam. And if you're a family of 4, you can double your population in 10 years, which is not bad. Doubling population every 10 years is not bad. And out of 6-7 million Muslims living in this country, only 1 million Muslims do this work. Just one family a month. Just one family a month. Believe me, we can change this country from 2% population to more than 50% population in 60 to 70 years. Make a resolution to every one of you contribute to it. Expense is very small, and time-wise, not much involved. So I hope that this progressing Islam, the topic, is in your hands. You can make it, you can make successful, or by your inaction, you will remain the same minority forever, hated, despised. Or you come forward, take it over. It is yours. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The topic today, having a mission, I'm going to start from the end, not from the beginning, so that we can get to basics, inshallah. You have in your folders a survey. I need everyone, inshallah, not to leave this room without filling that survey. And then I put a few sheets here on the table. I'd like you also to put in your email address if you're interested in the movement for change in America, because I'm the president and founder of Women's Inspirations Network, which is called Win America. How are we going to win America is the subject of my talk. So I'd like your email addresses, and I'd like you, inshallah, to fill out the surveys. The word mission is very telling, because if we consider that, we feel like, well, we're here, we're on this earth, Allah created us for a reason. Yesterday we talked about khilafah, and the khilafah is vicegerency, that is to have a responsibility of tabligh. This is what the brother was talking about. So we have to send out that message to society in order to tell them about ourselves. But as we do that, we're also ambitious to tell them, not in a defensive way, but if we sincerely believe in Islam as a dynamic religion that can change things, so we're going to have to look at it from an aggressive and dynamic way, and not look at it from the defensive perspective. We're sick and tired of hearing for years and years about Islam being portrayed in the media as terrorism. This country is a country of change. You want to change something, go out and do it, and stop talking about it. So you're going to have to find the channels of change rather than speak about, oh, well, they portray us negatively in the media, and they're bashing us all the time, and we need to do something about it. So, okay, go ahead and do something about it. This has been going on for years and years. And when we talk to our American friends about that, our non-Muslim friends, they tell us, well, why haven't you done anything about it yet? I know that CARE has done a lot. I've been writing and lobbying with representatives all the time about cases of discrimination against women wearing the hijab, about secret evidence, about almost every issue that has come up, and CARE has handled that. We've been participating in lobbying processes. But at the same time, I feel that we want to go a step forward to change society. There is a dangerous phenomenon. If you look on your outlines that you have in your folders as well, there is a dangerous phenomenon of separating church and state. I know this is a secular society, but if you really look carefully, you won't find that separation existing, because the Republican Party is considered a religious party, and there's nothing to hide. We know that it is religious. It does have an agenda. And the last we've heard is the banning of the abortion funding nationally and internationally, and because this is against Christian belief, and the pro-lifers have done a good job doing that. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to meld or weld a church and state. That's not what we're going to do. But what we see in front of us is our delegation on this earth is to implement Sharia. We're not going to go up to Congress and tell them, this is halal, this is haram. That's not what we're going to do. But what we want to do is see the issues that are of importance to us, the issues that are of common ground between us and the other people, and we'll work on them. But then also, let's not lose focus that we're Muslims and not pro-lifers. So, for example, there is an anti-family agenda that I talked to you about yesterday that has been implemented by the Women's Environment and Development Organization and the National Organization of Women. This anti-family agenda, of course, supports abortion and the different forms of the family, which is gay culture, marriage between the same sexes. They try also to eliminate parental authority, and that's a big subject because in the schools now, they have a sex ed curriculum, and that sex ed curriculum teaches our own kids, and we have a lot of Muslims there that have been lost to society because of those things. And I feel that just because your kid is in an Islamic school, there are other Muslim kids that belong to you as well, and you're responsible about them as well. And you're also responsible about the non-Muslim kids. If you really want to change morality in society and have an input, you need to look carefully at the elimination of parental authority, because what they want to do is, before you used to have a say-so about your kids joining a sex ed class. Now what they want to do is eliminate that parental authority, and so kids can have access to such education without your consent. Also, they can have access to United Nations reproductive health programs, which teaches them liberal sex. You can have sex before marriage, and it doesn't have to necessarily be in a legal way. So there is a combat of purity and chastity. There is a war against those very basic same morals that we Muslims have. What have we done about it? I'll just keep asking you that question. What have we done about it? Nothing. We have done about it nothing, because we feel we're always on the defensive. We're going to sit there and just take those beatings and feel that, well, the media is portraying us this way and there's nothing to do about it. Now also, they're pushing for the children's right to privacy. And right to privacy means you cannot access your kids' email, you cannot access your kids' internet, you cannot have a say-so about even the internet programs or the TV programs that they're watching, or else you'll be sued. And actually, this is going so far. They're giving kids also the right to counsel and have full abortion by whatever services they want. And they're giving them full freedom of expression. Now, why am I saying those things? As an immigrant community, people who are here, we're 6 million Muslims in America, maybe, let's say, 3/4 of them are immigrant and the other quarter is Muslim. There's 42% African American, there's 24 Indo-Pakistani. I taught a course before on the Muslim minority, so I know these numbers by heart. But anyway, the immigrant community feels helpless. It just sits there, and it has a kind of homesickness. I've talked to a lot of sisters and a lot of brothers, and the sisters, because they're not on the job, they're not professionals, they feel always homesick. Oh, I want to go back. I just cannot adjust to this society. It's so different here. I feel there's immorality. I feel I cannot do anything about it, and I'm not going to be part of this society. So my dream is to go back home. That is one factor of debilitating or paralyzing or crippling action and motivation and the thrust forward to change things. Also, people come here in this country because they feel they want to build careers instead of building Muslims, and instead of building Muslim communities the right way. So they get carried away with studying and getting degrees, and once that type of goal has been achieved, they feel they've achieved everything. A lot of Muslims are like that, especially, as I said, from the immigrant community. Then they isolate themselves as a protective measure. Instead of going out there and changing, they want to remain isolated because they feel psychologically, they feel protected from the aggressive I guess, impact of society negatively on ourselves. Now, having said that, and we know that we have a lot of cultural conflict on campuses, in schools. Now, although the immigrant community does isolate itself, it does send its kids to society. And when it sends them out there, now the Muslim families, although we know that the Muslim family is the basic unit of society, it's supposed to educate its kids from day one about Islam so that they are strong Muslim mu'min kids and they have enough antibiotic to go out there with their faith. They just dump them in that society without doing their job as parents. So there is a parental deficiency in educating the kids. So the kids go there to society and they get lost. One factor is parents don't know about the language of the society they're living in, and by their own choice, they have chosen to come here and live in the US. They don't know about the moral harms of this society, and by their own choice, they have chosen not to go back home, and that's not going to solve the problem because it's corrupt there as it's corrupt here because of media influences. Okay. So they throw their kids in that society, and the kids are totally lost. What have we done about it? Nothing. Now, finally, we're having some parenting classes and workshops in the mosques, and we're going out there and trying to educate parents about taking care of their kids. So we feel, in a way, that there's something that's going to be done, but there's a better way of changing things around in a more effective and aggressive manner. Let me share with you what's happening on campuses, not only in the high schools, in the very early education of kids, starting from elementary school up to junior high and high school. There, they're being presented with sex ed, and they're being presented with anti-moral type of values. If we feel sincerely about our fellow non-Muslims, and we would like to reach out to them, we're going to have to do something about sex education. That is my agenda for you. I'm saying that in Muslim countries, in typically Muslim countries, to save their kids, there was a proposal by Muslims at the very top level that there should be an Islamic sex education course that should be proposed. And see, one organization is not going to do that. It's going to have to be many, many other organizations. The whole list that the brother has gone through, none of them had that as an option, and none of them had the vision of changing academia, because that is where people get their learning. So our fellow Christians have already proposed Christian sex education courses. Our fellow Muslims have not done the same. Now I'm proposing to you, as you see on my outline here, there is a threat to morality, and we're going to have to move. The Islamic sex education alternative for Muslims and non-Muslims will teach them good spirituality and good morality. And it is not restricting in any way of their freedoms. It is not going to be imposed on them, but at least they'll have an alternative there, and they're not forced into the secularized sex ed curriculum, or the Christian for that matter, since there is freedom of worship and freedom of choice. Have we given anybody any other alternative or option? No. So that is the way to do a sex ed course. First, you have to teach them ahkam al-bulugh, and that is, what do kids in puberty do? And that has to be done in a polite language, because in the secular culture, they use the lousiest and the dirtiest, and I'm sorry to say, the very lowest type of language, which has turned our kids into little perverts. Actually, this is happening, because the gay culture is permeating the society to a very dangerous extent. They do have little books that say, Heather has 2 dads, or no, my daddy's roommate. These little books are being given to elementary school kids to teach them that gay is okay. And of course, you as a Muslim is going to have to do something about that. You can't just stand there still. So you have to teach them ahkam al-bulugh. You have to teach them Islamic etiquette. Now, we as Muslims don't date, and I know that very staunch Christians don't object to that, and they were there on my radio show also. I interviewed them. They have no problem at all with dating. And I say, okay, my dear sister, do you believe that you believe in motherhood? She said, yeah, I believe that motherhood is very essential, and I think women should not go out of the home and do work or get engaged in jobs and leave their kids at home. Okay, and do you believe in dating? And she says, yes. Now, there is this extremism. Well, what if you have good motherhood or you're there physically, but you're not able to guide your kids? So what we need is not to keep being on the defensive, but actually what you need to do is teach your kids how to lower their gaze and guard their chastity. That is implementing the Sharia. And what you're doing is giving the kids some kind of polite attitude to adopt, instead of just, if you go to any school now, my goodness, if you go to any high school, I take my kid to school back and forth, and I see it's like a zoo. It's like a zoo. You enter any high school and you're in shock. Not only because of drug addiction, but also of all those new fashions and fads that they keep picking up culturally. And they dye their hairs purple and green and blue and yellow and all kinds. And you see the type of nails that they wear. And actually, they would do things in front of you that you would never have believed could be done on a school campus, in front of your own kids and in front of their own eyes. So you cannot just stand still and watch that. You need to teach them virtue and purity. You need to teach them how to form a family. See, how to form a family. When a kid comes here, he thinks that he has all those pressures around him, and he sees the peer pressure, and he sees that he has to conform to this type of attitude in order to be accepted on a high school campus. But you have to give that kid an option. Tell him, okay, although you are going to see all of those things, in Islam, there is a reason for forming a family. And all your love and all your attention and whatever emotions you have should be crystallized and kept and energized in this family, or the incubator of, which is the incubator of society. You have responsibilities towards your children. You're not going to let these kids be lost in society because it's taking too long. We are watching for too long. And I think the gays and the lesbians are very, very aggressive about it. And they actually tap every media venue to do that. You cannot avoid them. While our muhajjaba sisters in hijab, can walk around and be harassed, they can be discriminated against, their hijabs can be picked at, they can be fired from their jobs, they have to go to care and complain. You cannot in any classroom, and I challenge you, say anything negatively about the gays and the lesbians. In any classroom, if you're teaching on campus, there's no way you can do that. Now also they impose on you gay and lesbian teachers, and our kids are there receiving that kind of information from these quote-unquote role models. Who is your teacher? At the same time, when immigrants come to this country, they don't know that they have to give a lot of love and attention and care to the kids so that they won't seek love and care and attention outside of the home. This is normal. If you don't have security in the home, if you don't have moral values in the home, if you don't have love and spiritual attention, if you don't pray with your family and teach your kids that you're the leader here, and when you come to pray, call the whole family, come kids, let's go pray together, to stay together, they're going to go out there and get the love from someone else. And this is happening. This is happening. And I just don't want to scandalize a lot of people that I so love and used to admire. But they're hot shots in dawah, and their kids are having now abortions. You see how dangerous that is? Now, common issues between us and the pro-lifers, such as prostitution they don't like, pornography they don't like, corrupt mass media they don't like. They don't like all those things. So where is the support that we have given them, and did we have a comparable initiative to combat those things? Prostitution is haram. We don't approve of it. And they tried, the seculars have tried to insert that legalizing prostitution in the United Nations documents and impose it on the entire Muslim world. We don't want to go there. We have nothing to do with the international arena, and this is also another advice I'm giving you. Stop thinking foreign policy. You need to think home policy. You need to serve your communities and stop thinking of saving the world. Saving Palestine and saving Chechnya and saving Bosnia. You're not going to be able to save it while you're here. You can do something about it financially and psychologically, maybe help them out by letters, by mailing, by money, but you are not going to be able to change things here while your mind is over there. You need to feel and think as an American because you're here in this country, you're staying here, you've made the decision to stay in America, you're serving the Muslim community. So you need to stop thinking foreign policy. And this is very dangerous because at the same level of the highest level of policy now, we have a big separation between policy and religion because people are not thinking morally and not thinking spirituality, they're thinking only politics. They've separated already. The Muslims, I mean, they've separated politics from religion, and all they're concentrating on now is politics. How to save the world, not how to save America. And this is awful. I think this is quite disturbing because you'll wind up being schizophrenic and you wind up having two personalities, one abroad and one here. And this is too much really to bear psychologically because you're not going to change anything. It's going to be half energy, one there and one here, and you're not going to really achieve anything. So let me call your attention also on what's happening on campus. How much time do I have? 11 minutes. Good. Well, we are 6 million Muslims here. In the Islamic studies departments, on any campus, we see Hindus teaching Islam. We see Buddhists teaching Islam. We see Christians teaching Christianity and Islam. We see Jews teaching Judaism. We don't see Muslims teaching Islam. Hundreds of graduates leave campus every year with misconceptions about Islam. Now here we are. We're going to go open wide to the non-Muslim community. We'll have our families in slots. Each family will go and visit another family or 2 or 3 or 4 to convert them. And here on the other side, we have hundreds of graduates leaving campus every year with these misconceptions. What are we doing? Are we really organizing our movement or not? So you need to work with intellectuals. You need to work with academicians because they control the way people perceive things. There's not one Muslim. I've asked and I've taken votes and I've asked before and they said, well, about four in all of the United States, maybe 4 Muslims teach. Well, we need to make that a law. We need to introduce to the politicians that no one has the right to represent my faith except me. We need to do that. Misinformation and misconception, and we go out there teaching the non-Muslims about, no, this is not a stereotype. The correct form is this and this. We want to work positively. We want to have courses, and we want to have curriculums, and we want to have people respect us through academia. These people are the ones that are being put in high positions as analysts, political analysts, philosophical analysts, and they bring them here on TV, and you just keep watching them analyzing. Who gave them the authority to do that on our behalf? When they talk about the Middle East or about Islam, who gave them the authority to do that? We did, because we're sitting there watching them and not doing anything about it. Now let's talk also about another thing that bothers me a lot, which is in ethnic studies, we're 6 million Muslims. In the ethnic studies department, or any department on any campus, okay, related to ethnic studies, they do not acknowledge or recognize the Islamic minority of 6 million as a minority that could be taught in a minority course. So what does that mean? I mean, we're not recognized. Why aren't we recognized? And we know that we've already had representatives go all the way up to Congress. There's Muslim representatives now, and we've given our vote to the current president because he had an agenda that is, well, at least morally and spiritually stable, and that could also aid our values, help our values out. But we're not using that opportunity. We know that it's there, but we're not using it. And in 4 years, or maybe less, lobbying is going to start, and new type of campaigns are going to start, and we have not done anything. So we need to move really fast, because if we want to have an agenda that could change things around for our own benefit and bring us closer to our fellow non-Muslims, we're going to have to do something about changing curricula, and the attitudes on campuses. That cannot be done by one person, and it cannot be done by one organization, and it needs to be done by a coalition of Muslims to change things around. The third area is the area of gender studies. All women's studies programs on all campuses in the US are funded by secular feminists to promote the gay and lesbian culture. I've been invited to many of them. And I was not invited, first I was invited to give a positive input and to tell them our perspective. As time went by and I was re-invited to give a talk there, I found that they're ridiculing Islam. That is an advancement on their part. Because after they had used us to know what we think, now they are using us to ridicule us, you see? And that is terrible. Are we barred now? The youth generation that's coming up, they're very energetic. They go there and study. They get their degrees. They want to be accepted in the job market. What have we done as parents for those youth? Nothing. If something like the women's studies programs is closed up to them and they cannot go in there and teach a women's studies course that shows the achievements of Muslim women and their movement and the figures that are there throughout history and the leaders and combat all the kinds of stereotyping by showing the positive input of Muslims throughout history, what do we expect? What do we expect? They're not going to be able to do that. The job is close to them. So we need to do something about it. We need to change that so that the job market is open wide. And this is America. This is the country of the free and the brave. This is the country, the one nation under God. Which God? I'm asking you, which God? So it's one God. So we need to use that for our own benefit. These are three areas. And actually, if we start from the bottom up, from elementary school up to junior high and high school, and then go to the university level, we need to penetrate these areas in order to have a positive input Islamically, and that, to me, is the best way of making dawah. It's going to cut short on the stereotyping that's running haywire in the country, and we're going to stop defending ourselves, and we're going to change minds, change attitudes. People write papers and do reports, and they have books out, and they have references. And imagine if all the university libraries now are using those books in their own curricula. You see, this has to be changed. And I don't know why, although there has been a lot of dawah work done in this country for Islam, people have not considered academia. Just because there are not many Muslims there teaching, they need to know that it's a dangerous situation, and they need to go and do something about it. So please, if you're interested in the movement forward and thrust to change American society, kindly fill out the survey. It's very important that I go home with that survey. And give me your email for Win America so I can recontact you. I've already given out several surveys on the West Coast, and I've gotten very excellent input from sisters. What is your vision if you want to be in Congress? What kind of bills or what kind of initiatives do you want to see there? So you need to have a vision. Everybody needs to work on it. So crystallize your vision on paper so that people can get that, and then inshallah, God willing, when we have a coalition of organizations, we can work together towards change. Okay, and also give me your email. And there's a little bit of the book left, and I hope that you can pick it up and buy it as last night. You've been so generous. Jazakumullah khairan for listening, and forgive me for any shortcomings.
Well, I don't want to be here, from you guys to be defend what I'm going to say, but I have some comments there. I mean, in my opinion, when somebody do a mistake, always he tried to find excuses for his mistake. All of us came here to this country not for the sake of Allah. All of us came here for His sake, for His benefits. Okay? Then we realize our mistakes, what we did to ourselves and to our children. And now we are coming up with certain kind of solutions or dreams, as you mentioned, to solve them. So we put our children in the situation that you are telling about. Making da'wah doesn't start with families. When people make da'wah, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they don't go as families, they went as individuals. Then when they establish the ground for the community, they move to that place. We here came with our families, and we put them in danger for in this society. And now we are trying to find solutions that they are not solutions, they are mostly dreams. Another point here, give you an example from history. Going back to our home countries is much more important than staying here. Listen to what Europe did, during the black ages of in Europe. They went to the Islamic countries, learned there the science in all aspects. Then they went back to their places and developed their countries, and then they became the first in the world. That's what we need to do. That's what why we came here. That's most of us what their country, or their families send them here. We put our benefits first, not our ummah's benefits first. That's our problem. Lack of morality here, you are not going to change the lack of morality by 1 or 2 or 3 years or 10 years. That's when your children grow up. That's when you will see your children doing the bad stuff that you will regret. That's the problem. You don't need something to change it in 70 years. You need something to change it in 10, 15 years, or in next day. So I don't say, staying here is bad or good. This is your own judgment. But in my opinion, going back is much important than staying here, because our country needs us, and the ground is there, not here. Believe me, the ground is there. It's much easier to grow your children there. I came from places that, from a country that's not, highly, good place to live in, as, freedom or something like that. But I believe in the people there, because when the people come here, they are good. So people like you should go back to their country, sacrifice themselves to the sake of Allah, and not stand here talking about dreams, because dreams won't solve our problems.
Brother, yeah,
that's all.
This is a question and answer session.
No,
if you could ask
I could make some comments here, but just one thing I remind you with the ayah. إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيما كنتم قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ولم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها. The translation, if I could do it really well here. Okay. Those who, the malaika, the angels came to them, to take their souls. They will say, and they are, hurting themselves because they did bad things in their life. They will say excuses. We are weak in the land in the land there. They will tell them, there was no place for you to move in and to find some place different or better. Okay. You are putting your children in danger. Don't advertise for staying here.
Okay, well, appreciate your comments. Dr. Rasha would like to say something.
Yes, of course I would. I'm not going to get emotional about this, because we've been through that many times before. We have a problem in the immigrant community. We come here as students, and year after year after year, we say we're going back, and we never do. See, this is a problem. As I said, you're thinking there. Why are you here? Why are you here? And if you're here temporarily, then this is not where you should be discussing things. Because, see, my husband made the decision to stay in this country. I consider myself an American Muslim. I don't consider myself an Egyptian anymore. That's it. So I have to think in that direction. How am I going to benefit my Muslim brothers and sisters? That's what I'm thinking. Because we've made a decision. And it's very debilitating. And you say, "Ibda binafsika wa biman ta'ul." This is what the hadith you have in mind. Start with yourself and those around you. So you need to turn to your families and do something about it, so that they can have the thrust forward to go and benefit society. You see? This kind of vision is not my vision, you see? This is Qaradawi's vision. This is Jamal Badawi's vision. Okay? This is the scholarly vision. These people are thinking of having Islam everywhere. They're not thinking of just that Islam has those geographical boundaries where you can practice it back home and not practice it here. You see? And we're losing a lot of Muslims because of that kind of mentality. All right? And you need to change morality not because you're going to be asked about it now, but you're going to be asked about it in the hereafter. Al-amru bil-ma'rufi wa-nahy anil munkar. You are actually asked to enjoin goodness and prohibit evil. You cannot look at that and just stand passive.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm overwhelmed with everything that I heard. My question to the panels are as follows. Some of us are first generation, some of us are second, some of us are fifth generation. Decisions to come, to stay, to return are very personal, and it's between each one of us and his maker. So I cannot judge anyone but me. So I'll start with me. What would you see as my responsibility? What I heard so far is that you're suggesting a multiple tier approach to the challenges that are meeting all of us Muslims who are at this moment, since I could pass away in a minute or an hour or a day. This moment, there is different tiers of contributions and assistance to each other, to our children, and to our communities, immediate communities, and the community at large, which is in this country and beyond. What would you advise us who have been a long time and short time, and our children, of creating a non-divisive community within this country and beyond? I've heard some wonderful suggestions. I'm taking it over to my kids who are no longer live in Iowa, adults of their own, contributing in their own small ways, and others. My biggest concern, I've been very lucky when I came here and the support that I received from God and others. What would you suggest to a newly coming family or an individual Muslim, man or a woman? What would you offer them for their immediate community? We need a mentoring program. How can we here create a mentorship program that's even away from the mosques? How can we do it?
Jazakallah khair. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Allah said that you are the best community brought out for mankind. Here, I will not go much detail except I'll point out two aspects of it. Khayra ummatin, the best community. That means you have to become the best. That means you have to increase your knowledge of what Islam is all about. Study yourself Quran and Sunnah, and what you study, implement in your life. As I said before, don't go by hearsay Islam, but go by the Islam of Quran and Sunnah. And implement yourself, implement your life, and then increase the circle, go to other Muslim brothers and sisters, let them know how to live Islam, what you understand it. Don't impose your views on other people, but just convey. Our duty is to convey, not to convince. Remember that. Our duty is to convey, not to convince. Just convey, leave at that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that person, it is between them to be guided, Allah to guide them. It's not our duty to impose our deen on other people. We are only here to convey. And then linnas, ukhrijat linnas, means we have to become role models of mankind in two ways. Convey and show them who we are. And we have to have excellence in every aspect of our lives. Excellence on the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, excellence in our relationship with people, and excellence in our professions, whatever we choose to do. I think this will help you answering your question. Thank you.
Could you hold on just a second? The sister was asking a question and she needed some tips. How do we start in our communities? And I think the best way is to start with your families. There has to be some change in the family. We're still suffering from spousal abuse. That's something that we cannot deny. We still have a problem with tarbiyah. We do not know how to raise our kids in this country simply because we don't have a vision. We don't know how to protect them. We don't know how to educate them from day one. Then after that, because the family is the incubator of the best incubator for good individuals, and that is where we have to start, then you can reach out to other people to make dawah with other people. But you have to start in the home. And there has to be fulfillment of wifehood and motherhood duties in the home, spiritually and emotionally. And both parents are responsible for rearing the kids, not just the mother. See, these are problems, because the absence of the husband is a problem. Mothers shouldering that alone is a problem. We need to solve that so we have some kind of integration of roles so that everybody helps each other do better dawah and be able to be more positive in their input.
Thank you, Dr. Rasha. A quick follow-up, please. The biggest dilemma that I have witnessed from first and second-hand experience for a Muslim family or individual coming into a foreign land, and foreign is a word that is very inclusive, is the lack of support in that immediate community. So what I'm saying is, I had my journey, and I have grown from the journey, and I have raised what I believe between me and God are two very good responsive adults, community members, and good Muslims in their heart. Now, I would like to share my journey with the positive and the negative with others, but sometimes the time and the opportunities are not there. So what I am asking from your wonderful expertise and Dr. Ali's expertise is another food for thought for us. When a new member comes in, we need to create a network of a mentoring system for individual and families, because the mere coming into this country alone is a shock to the system.
Of course it is.
It's a cultural shock, it's a language shock, it's a faith shock, it's an intellectual and physical and spiritual shock.
Right. Well, usually in communities they would have programs and they'd have conferences and seminars and things like that, but I don't know which, you're in this community, of course.
Right.
Attending the Maya conference is not going to help, simply because our Arab brothers and sisters, with all respect to them, they're dealing in these conferences still from a foreign and alien mentality and dealing in foreign policy and not dealing with problems of this country. Right. So what you need to do is find a support group that thinks like you and is just a newcomer. And you have my email on my card here on the table, and we'd like to establish contact. Okay. And inshallah, I'll hook you up with a lot of sisters, American sisters that are here. Yeah, I'll hook you up with sisters, and we'll help you out. On my part, I can do what I can do.
Yes,
inshallah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, since we have 5 more people to go, and just try to keep it short.
Sure. Before I ask my very brief question, I'd just like to thank all the immigrants who have come to this country and stayed here, because I probably wouldn't have been able to find Islam without all of you living here. So Jazakallah khair for you and for being open with your religion. The question that I have actually is, and I've noticed this a lot in my years as a Muslim, that much of the Muslim community and the Muslim leadership alike feel that most of the Americans who aren't Muslim think that we are terrorists, or they suspect this. And it's my experience with most non-Muslims that I've known throughout my life that at worst they're completely ignorant, and at best they don't think those kind of things at all. And I'm just wondering if you can comment on that, and like what kind of criteria or data or whatever supports this belief that most Americans, I know the media does this sometimes, but oftentimes I think even the media misses what the American public actually believes. And I'd just like for both of you to comment on that. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I have seen, we have a reading room, Islamic reading room, and a reading in Chicago, where people can walk in and ask questions. And I found many people are scared to walk in because it's Islamic place. They are scared, common people. So what is happening is, there are 2 groups, there are 2 or 3% population who is creating the image of Islam a certain way to be scared. Why they are doing it? Because they are afraid of expanding Islam in this country. They want to create conditions so people are so much afraid they will not even ask questions. And they're using the same tactics as done during the Crusade period. I will not go details, a long topic by itself, it's a whole speech by itself, but this is the designed movement to stop people coming to Islam. There are only 2 or 3% people doing it. The masses, they are confused, they don't know. Some people believe in it, what the media is saying, some people don't believe in it. Some people are skeptics. So we have all kind of people. But there is a, I will not say majority, a large number of American people who think that Muslims are evil, Muslims are bad. And this is ignorance, and we have a duty to reach out to them and remove their ignorance and inform them, and this will change the whole scene in this country.
Question for Dr. Amir. You might have touched the subject in your initial part of the speech, but I missed, but it's related to your last part of the speech. I don't know why the Muslim leaders start blaming America, FBI and CIA for all their problems. I think we should start blaming our leaders and ourselves because if we are not, the grounds are not there to be exploited, we should not be exploited. I think the America job is to exploit, but it is our leaders and the Muslim ummah not to be exploited. And the second is a bad example for a good cause for Dr. Rasha. If you have a belief in your faith or whatever you are pursuing, like the gay community, you can get things done. I think they are not equal to 6 million as the Muslim, but they have all the resources.
You know, 1960 to 67, I was in Iowa City. And it's a typical way of the CIA and FBI to assign a job, a research job, to a university to investigate, come up with the recommendations, how to implement their policies. And Iowa City was chosen to be a center of the development of policy, how to break Pakistan into Bangladesh and West Pakistan. I will not go into detail. I have seen a lot right in this city. I have known people personally in this city who are involved in the project during the whole 60s, and that fruit was in 1970, which we saw. So I'll go into detail. So this is that they are doing a lot of things, and you have to be carefully read between the lines. You will get a lot of information. I developed some kind of expertise. I can see fingerprints of CIA and FBI in certain things. It's the fingerprints. It's like you're going in a jungle, and you see there's some fingerprints, and you say, oh, these are fingerprints of a tiger. And if you say, I don't believe in it because I haven't seen tiger, fine, wait for there until tiger comes and attacks you. So I see fingerprints, I inform people I see fingerprints. Covert operations have no proof unless those who are involved in it. So covert operations is a covert operations. So we should know what is going on. And they can use only when we are corrupt. We have treasonous people in our society. They are willing to sell their conscience for little money. And we have that. And all through Muslim countries, we have treasonous people. Our society is corrupt and rotten. We have people who sell their conscience all over the places. I will not say 90% people are there, even 1% enough. A fraction of 1% enough to destroy society. And we have many among us who do a thing like this.
We have 5 more minutes for 3 more questions, so yeah.
I'll be quick then. Sister Rasha, I have 2 questions for you. I'd like to think that I'm one of the lucky 20% of non-Muslims who are committed to helping remove stereotypes about Muslims. I teach religion, and my school sent me here to study with you and be here today. They paid for my flight. I'm from New Jersey. And yes, I also teach Islam in some of my religion courses. First of all, my question is, do you think it's always the case that non-Muslims will represent Islam in a negative or misrepresented way, when it's possible, in my mind, that a Muslim could also misrepresent Islam? And the second question relates to a contradiction I felt in your speech. Just as I would support your right not to be discriminated against because of your hijab, there are gay and lesbian teachers at my school who I'm very dear friends with, and I would support their right to teach without losing their job. So I'd like you to talk to those two questions, please.
To the first question, not all non-Muslims misrepresent Islam. And it also is very important that we make friends with the non-Muslims who have a positive view of things, or at least an objective view, and they're not biased, and help them out. If they are in a position to teach about Islam, we should help them out in a positive way. And I've seen a lot of cases where Muslims actually influenced the teachers, and the input was really great on campus. The second comment about gays and lesbians, of course, this is a moral issue. And of course, they have the right to be there. Nobody's saying anything. But what I'm saying is that Muslims are taking a beating on the head and not doing anything about it. See, the gays and lesbians in this country are probably about 10%. You believe that they have the right to practice that. Christians who are pro-lifers believe that it is against their book. So do Muslims. So we have the right to express our views. We cannot do anything about it. We cannot change the way they think. They believe they're like that, and they have taken important positions in schools to teach our kids. We're not going to kick them out of there because it's their right to be there. They claim that is their right. But what have the Muslims done about it to keep the moral values intact? This is all I'm saying. Nobody's going to tread on anybody's turf here. So we'll leave them do what they want. They say laissez-faire, what is the saying? Let them live and let them do what they want to do. Okay? Let them do what they want to do. But we also have to do what we have to do. That's what I'm saying. And it's a good opportunity that we are here and that we can do that. And if we can change things, that'll be even greater.
All right, two more questions.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a newly converted Muslim during the course of the last month, and I've found that there's a large lack of information that's accessible to a non-Muslim American individual, English speaker, that would be interested in the religion of Islam. I was wondering, for those of us that aren't lucky enough to be born into a Muslim family, how we could be individuals, English-speaking American individuals, could be taught and reached through other Muslims through something such as a mentoring program, if you have any concepts or ideas in regards to that.
Thank you for the question. It's very appropriate for me because we established an institute in Chicago called the Institute of Islamic Information Education. And I have brought a lot of material up there, and I didn't get a chance to open up my boxes and put them on the tables. Inshallah, after this session, I'm going to open my box and put material on the table. We are operating from Chicago. We have printed about 50 brochures.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I was wondering if there's any model other than the conference convention brochure. Okay.
We have
like
classes.
Individual to individual,
yes,
as opposed to classes, as opposed to.
Yeah. Let me explain it. Okay. And we have classes in Chicago. We have classes to teach Arabic language. We regular every week, 3 times a week. We have classes of answering questions, teach people Salat and Saum and Hajj and Zakat, whatever the question they have. They have once a week class for teaching them Quran tafsir. And I am trying to promote this kind of a system in every city and every town. And it's a matter of some brothers coming forward and taking it up. We provide for libraries free sets of books. We have equipped at least 500 libraries with the books. And I'm going around and doing the Dawah training program. And tomorrow, inshallah, I will have a session on Dawah training programs, what program we have. And we have done program in California, in Houston, Texas, in New Jersey, in Chicago several times. I'd like to hold a program over here in Chicago. We'll give the explanation tomorrow, so we can train people how to reach out, train people how to teach the new Muslims what to do with them. You need some training in this area. And unless people are trained, so you can get training by start doing it, and inshallah you will get training by yourself. But the people hesitant. So once they get the training, they get a little more bold, they want to come forward and do the work. So we have in Chicago, and some other cities are imitating our model. And they are doing like Texas has a program, and California has a program, New York has programs, many places, but we have not reached a smaller town like Iowa City yet. But I will strongly appeal to this audience to come forward, bring me here for 2-week period, 20-day period. I will live in Iowa City. I will train people over here for you, inshallah.
I don't have any questions, but Sister Amina has questions, so I'm going to move the mics to her.
Actually, I'm going to apologize because it really isn't that much of a question, as it is that I could not sit back here and listen to what that one lovely, well-meaning brother said. Okay, I am born and raised in this country. I am Cherokee Indian. I was here before Columbus was here. I happen to love this country. I happen to believe that this country has the potential of truly providing us an opportunity to live by Quran and Sunnah. I have visited other countries, so-called Muslim countries, and I've seen the children lost. I've seen the children confused. I've seen the children mixed up between what is Islam and what is a culture. I have seen the children and the adults ignorant of what true Islam is. I find the people who come here to this country coming together to form finally one ummah, one true ummah that breaks through all of the cultural barriers, the barriers of language, the barriers of ignorance, and we come together and begin to live by Islam and implement Islamic thought in all that we do. For those of you who hate this country so much, please leave today so that the rest of us can truly bring Islamic thought to not only this nation, but to the rest of the universe. And to my young brother, we have a mentoring program that begins through the computer and reaches into every city, not only in this country, but throughout the world.
I have a question for Sister Rasha. You mentioned a very significant point about how Islam is misrepresented by non-Muslims and even by those trends and currents that are in enmity with Islam. And then how this context or situation need to be changed. My question to you is how such change will take place, both in terms of the political action in order to question the authority of those who are misrepresenting Islam, and at the same time of regarding the academia. I'm really curious to know what suggestions or practical suggestions you have to enrich the American academia with proper Muslims, with the proper representations of Islam. Just brief, please. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to explain where I'm coming from when I say that there has been misrepresentation in academia. You know, there was a movement called Orientalism. The Orientalists were especially bought to misrepresent or to present Islam from their view. There was a big battle between Muslim scholars and these Orientalists to teach them what Islam is really like. The remnants of this movement is still here in the United States. So that is why they're there misrepresenting Islam on campuses. Now, it's up to the Muslim Student Association everywhere on every campus to pick up that initiative and start lobbying to have a Muslim teacher for their Islamic courses and in the GE courses, in the general education courses. So that is one way to go. The other way is to try and complain about it and lobby about it to Congress. Make a big noise about it so that people can feel we are being misrepresented in academia, and that is curtailing our freedom of speech and curtailing our freedom to practice our religion the way we have to practice it, because it's causing more bias and discrimination. These are two ways to go, and I don't know of any other alternative unless Sister Amina has something in mind to change the views on campus. Okay.
Early in the 1960s, there was a Professor Dr. Zubairi on this campus. He was in English department. He made a suggestion to establish Islamic studies chair in this university. They resisted, they said no. They say, okay, bring the money. After a lot of pressure, they say, okay, bring the money. He said, how much money you want? He said, $1 million. I said, I'll bring $1 million. But guarantee me that when I bring $1 million, establish a chair, you will not appoint a Jew, an anti-Islam Zionist, or a Christian, or a secularist anti-Islam to the chair in the name of Islamic studies. Guarantee me. No, he said, you will not guarantee it. Since then, stereotyped community, Brother Yahya Asi and his family raise the money. They say, we'll give you money anytime you want it. Establish a chair. But you want to have a say in the matter who's appointed. They said, no, they will not do it. In UIC, University of Illinois in Chicago, I'm working with them. They will not guarantee anything. Saudi Arab, other Gulf states have spent at least $100 million in 25 years. They given money to University of Michigan, Harvard University, and all the Ivy Leaguers, North Carolina, many other states, and every time they said, we will establish Islamic studies chairs. They got the money. Who takes the chair? Christians, Jews, secularists, sometimes Muslims who are secular Muslims. They don't pray, they drink, they eat pork. That's the kind of Muslim they bring in.
All right, just an announcement for this last question. Prayers will be in the back, just behind this hall. And for those who registered and paid, there's a dinner or lunch at the first floor up here. And there's places to eat in IMU too, so last question, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. This question is for Dr. Rasha. And specifically when we're talking about rights and being put on the same level as gays and lesbians, as opposed to being God-fearing and moral Muslims, as opposed to enforcing corrupt views on others, including children. Not to beat a dead horse, but I want you to explain the difference in how we can explain to others the difference of us being respected and not discriminated against as Muslims versus gays and lesbians and them obtaining their, or wanting to obtain their rights.
How am I explaining that to this audience? Or you mean to say that the audience carry the message to society? Yes. The audience carry the message to society. Okay, well, actually, the thing is, most people don't know where this gay culture is coming from. But it is a big movement. And it has actually been supported by special interest groups that I don't want to say the name of right now. But it has been a movement that's very well organized. It has been fought by a lot of pro-lifers. They say that it's only 10% of this country claim to be gays and lesbians. They have a lot of support because they make a lot of noise. And we're not concerned about them, but we're concerned about the safety of our kids, Muslims and non-Muslims, on campuses. And we need to deliver an Islamic message, both to save our Muslim kids and also to educate and give an alternative to the non-Muslims. So as far as our respect is concerned now, we are the ones that can make people respect us. We are the ones that need to look inside our own communities and see what is wrong with us and correct our behavior with each other so that we are attractive enough to the non-Muslims to see that we are a model community. How can we be the best community, خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ, or the best kind of ummah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought to people? We're not behaving like the best ummah. And I'm not going to go into the infighting and the problems we have and misbehaving with each other and not being able to implement Islam properly and not being able to practice the way the Prophet told us to practice. I'm not being critical of anyone here, but we see the results. The results is we're not moving forward. Honestly, we've been talking about media negative input in this country for as long as I know, 25 years now. Nothing has happened. I know what some people have done. Like the Islamic Media Foundation now has a radio program that, alhamdulillah, I'm on and I can contribute a little bit through mass media, which is a very good alternative to correcting. Actually, it's an alternative to individual dawah, and also it's a good way of correcting mass disinformation. That's the way to do it. See? But respect in society, we are the ones that can make society respect us by being there And not by saying, we hate this country, we don't want to be here anymore, we cannot contribute anymore, we should not think like that. أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً. This is Allah's land as well, and we are here, so we are supposed to fix things for ourselves and other people, and not think so in a limited geographical way. So that's the way to get people to respect us. But with that kind of talk, they'll never respect Muslims. They'll always think of them as terrorists, as carrying knives and guns, and they're going to talk about it in the media and talk about it everywhere because we are helping them fix that image. You see? That's all I can say about that, and we can discuss more, inshallah.